I'm 97 years old now, 97. And when you live this long, you start realizing how much of your life was shaped by things you never chose. Some people at my age sit around talking about the good old days, but I can't do that. Not honestly. Because the truth is, the world I came up in wasn't kind to folks like me. And the thing that hurts the most after all these years ain't the jobs I lost or the schools I couldn't attend. It's my father. Racism didn't just steal opportunities from me, it stole them too. And I've been carrying that truth in my chest for more than 90 years. I was born in 1927, down in rural Alabama, back when the roads were mostly dirt and the air smelled like red clay and wood smoke. Back when colored and white signs hung everywhere like they were part of the weather. You didn't question them. You just learned where you were allowed to stand. My daddy was a quiet man, tall, strong hands from years of working land that never truly belonged to him. He didn't say much, but when he did, folks listened. His name was Isaiah. To the world, he was just another black man picking cotton and fixing fences for somebody else's farm. But to me, he was everything. I remember the sound of his boots on the wooden porch when he came home late in the evening. That slow, tired walk after a long day in the fields. Mama would already have supper cooking, beans, cornbread, maybe some greens if we were lucky. And Daddy would sit down, take off that worn hat, and rub his forehead like the weight of the world had followed him home. Sometimes he'd smile when he saw me watching him. "Boy," he'd say, "one day you ain't gonna have to live like this." I believed him. Lord, I believed him with my whole heart. But Daddy lived in a time when being a black man with dreams was dangerous. He worked harder than any man I've ever known, sun up to sundown, and still, the white folks who owned that land never let him forget his place. I remember one day, clear as if it happened this morning. I must have been about 8 years old. Daddy had been promised extra pay for repairing a broken tractor. He spent 2 nights fixing that machine after working the fields all day. But when he went to collect his money, the man laughed, told him he should be grateful just to have work. I watched my father stand there, hat in his hands. He didn't yell, didn't fight. He just nodded slow, like he already knew how the story would end. That was the first time I saw something break inside him, not loudly, quietly, like a tree cracking deep in the woods where nobody else can hear it. Growing up black in those days meant learning how to swallow anger. You learned it early, you learned it quick. Daddy used to tell me, "Son, the world out there ain't fair, but you gotta live in it anyway." He wanted more for me. He used to sit me down at night and make me read from an old Bible and a torn-up school book someone gave us. Education, he said, was the only door they couldn't completely close. But even that door had chains on it. The colored school I went to had broken desks and books missing half their pages. We learned anyway, because that's what our people did. We made something out of nothing. But Daddy carried a weight most men couldn't survive. Working land you don't own, taking orders from boys half your age, pretending you didn't hear insults that burned like fire in your chest. That kind of living eats a man slowly, like rust. Then one night, everything changed. It was the summer of 1938. Hot night, cicadas buzzing loud in the trees. Daddy had gone into town earlier that day. Said he needed to talk to the landowner about the money he was owed. Mama didn't want him to go. I remember her standing by the door, wringing her hands. "Isaiah," she said, "let it be." But Daddy shook his head. "Some men reach a point where dignity matters more than fear." That night, he didn't come home. At first, Mama told me he must have stayed late working. But when the sun came up and his boots still weren't on the porch, I knew something was wrong. Later that afternoon, a man from town came by, wouldn't even step onto the porch, just stood down by the dirt road. He told Mama they found Daddy near the creek outside town, said he must have gotten into trouble. That's how they said it back then. trouble, like the world just happens to black men. Mama didn't cry right away. She just sat down slowly in that wooden chair, like all the strength left her bones at once. I didn't understand everything then, but I understood enough. My father had gone into town asking for what he was owed, and he never came back. Nobody investigated. Nobody asked questions. In those days, a black man dying in the wrong place wasn't considered a mystery. It was just another story people didn't talk about. We buried him 2 days later, small service behind the church. The preacher spoke about heaven and peace and justice coming someday. But I remember looking at that wooden coffin and thinking, justice ain't here, and it ain't coming soon. After Daddy died, life got harder. Mama started cleaning houses for white families in town. I picked up work wherever I could, fields, lumber yards, carrying crates at the train station. Childhood ended quick for black boys back then. But the thing about losing your father that way, it stays with you. Every decision you make after that is shaped by the fear of what the world can take from you. When I turned 18, I left Alabama, joined the wave of folks heading north. The Great Migration, they call it now. Back then, it just felt like escape. Chicago looked like opportunity from a distance. Tall buildings, factory jobs, streets full of people chasing something better. But racism didn't stay in the South. It just changed clothes. Up north, they didn't hang signs saying colored only. They just made sure the good jobs never reached us. Factories paid less. Landlords packed us into neighborhoods nobody else wanted. Police watched us like we were criminals just for existing. Still, it was better than Alabama. At least I could walk down the street without worrying about a rope waiting in the trees. I worked steel mills for 40 years. Hard work, hot metal, long hours. Hands scarred from machines that didn't care if you lived or died. But every time I got tired, I thought about Daddy, about that promise he made, that maybe my life would be different. I got married, had children, did everything a man is supposed to do. But something inside me stayed broken, because every success I had, every paycheck, every step forward, I kept thinking about the man who never got that chance. My father never saw freedom, never saw civil rights marches, never saw black mayors or black teachers or black families buying homes in neighborhoods we were once forbidden from entering. He died before the world even started pretending to care. Sometimes people ask me what it was like watching things change in the 1960s. The marches, the laws, the speeches, and I tell them the truth. It was beautiful, but it was also painful, because progress came too late for a lot of people. Too late for men like my father, men who carried the weight of oppression so their children could walk a little lighter. Now I sit here at 97. Most of the people I knew are gone. My wife passed 10 years ago. Friends from the mill, gone. Even some of my children have grown distant with time. Old age can be a lonely place, but memory stays sharp. And sometimes late at night, when the house is quiet, I think about Daddy walking down that dirt road into town, hat in his hands, trying to claim the dignity he was owed. And I wonder how different my life would have been if he had come home that night. Maybe he would have taught me more about being a man. Maybe I wouldn't have spent my whole life trying to prove I was strong enough to survive a world that never wanted me here. Racism didn't just steal opportunities, it stole fathers, it stole families, it stole generations of peace we'll never get back. If you're listening to this, especially the younger folks, I just want you to understand something. Your freedom didn't come out of nowhere. It came from people who endured things you shouldn't have to imagine. People who lived whole lives carrying fear and dignity in the same breath. People like my father. I'm not angry anymore. Time wears anger down, but the memory stays. And before I leave this world, I needed somebody to hear that story, because men like Isaiah deserve to be remembered, not as victims, but as fathers who loved their children enough to stand up, even when the world told them not to. 97 years is a long time to live, long enough to see change, long enough to see wounds begin to heal. But some losses stay with you until the end. And I reckon that's all right, because when I close my eyes now, I can still hear those boots on the porch, slow, steady, coming home.